Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 190.
Yeehaw!
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom!
Etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kid this? I don't like the colour.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yeah. Someone's back.
Yeah, I've missed that intro. God, I've missed that little intro.
I've missed your little voice, mate.
I was going to say, although I have been listening in just to check you weren't talking about me behind my back.
You've been checking up, make sure I've been behaving.
That's it. I got back and I listened to the latest podcast with you and Phil, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I think, he's a bit good, this Phil. I might be in danger of losing my job.
Yeah, it was a good show with Phil. He's a good guy.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I like the fact he's such a big Sarah Jane Adventure fan as well, which is good because, like you said on the thing, we've only seen a few, so we're still like, where are we going with this? So yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you, Phil, for doing that, mate. Mm-hmm. It was good, but regular hosts are back in the swing of it.
That's it. I'm back now to reclaim my headphones.
I've missed your little face. In your voice, yeah.
I'm rivaling you with the beard now as well. I know you can't see listeners, but just before I went away, I was teasing Gary about his beard because it's been getting big. And because I've been away for nearly a month now, and I didn't take any razor, I think, with me. Mine's, I think I've overtaken you, actually. I look a bit like Brian Blessed right now. I really went into traveller mode. I was like, I'm not taking any razors, I'm not taking any deodorant, I'm just going to go full traveller mode. And I'm still in it.
Listeners that don't know, Adam has been on his travels
I have indeed,
to China and the surrounding areas.
I've had a real cracking time. I was supposed to go away for about 2.5 weeks. Ended up staying away for a month, as you do.
As you do.
Just get to extend it. I was like, a couple more days. I've been all around. I've been around Hong Kong. I've been around Thailand. I've been around Vietnam. I've been absolutely living it up, mate. Loving it.
Awesome.
And all this time, anywhere I've been, I've always tried to search out a little HMV or something to see if there's any exclusive Doctor Who stuff out there. Just because I'm away doesn't mean I'm not hunting down merchandise to spend all my money on. And I didn't find much this time, I'll be honest. But yeah,
that's because you found all of it already.
Yeah, it's because I've already got it. Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah, I was going along the list thinking, got that one. Yeah, I do like if you find something with a different cover though. You know what I mean? I'd love to get
that's cool.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Very cool, mate. So it's good to have you back.
Yeah, cheers, bud.
Very cool.
Good to be back. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Other than, and I suppose you have, actually, no, I know one thing you've done, but other than being China bound, have you done anything cool Doctor Who related? I know you've been to one cool thing.
Yeah, I did. I threw myself straight into a convention. Yeah, I was like,
hardcore. That is.
I must admit, I felt pretty hardcore doing it because I was like, I got back 5 o'clock in the morning the day before. And there was this Showmasters Collector Mania event in Birmingham, which is about a 2-hour train journey from me the next day on the Saturday. And I was like, I looked at the guest list and there were a few really tempting people, like Camille Kaduri, who I know me and you often say we want to meet. Obviously played Jackie, Rose's mum. Mark Williams, Rory's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle Ryan from Planet of the Dead. And also, actually, this was added ages ago, but there was also the chance to get a photo with John Leeson and the K9 prop for £10. And I've got to admit, I probably would have just gone for that because that was added ages ago. And I kept thinking even that was just tempting me to go. And then they added Richard Wilson at the last minute. Now, I'm a massive One Foot in the Grave fan.
I know
Absolutely
you are. You love it.
I love it. I love it. And I've always wanted to meet him. And also, he was in Doctor Who in the fantastic The Empty Child episode. So that was it. That just swung. I thought, I don't care how tired I am. I'm getting up on Saturday and I'm getting that train down there. And that's what I did. And I had a really good day. I met all the peeps and they were all really cool. I have to say, Michelle Ryan was particularly nice. She was so friendly because she was at a Phantom event a couple of weeks ago, which obviously I couldn't go to. And we chatted a bit about that because she started doing a bit more of the convention circuit, probably because she's doing Big Finish and stuff. But she was lovely. It was a great day, mate. I met with the usual motley crew and friends, Ad the Whovian and my friend Will and stuff, and loads of other people that I see at these events, and just had a great day. But my goodness, was I shattered on the way back. I looked like death on the way home. I took a picture of myself on the train. I was just like, oh dear, I think I overdid it. So I've been sleeping pretty much ever since then. But it was wicked, mate. It's good. As I said, I loved my travels. Absolutely fantastic time. But it is good to be back. And nice I come back home to a few little bits waiting for me, of course. I kept thinking, bound to be a few little parcels. And not too bad for me. I had a few complete histories waiting for me. I had the Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor Adventures Part 2 from Big Finish.
Oh yeah,
it's like a box set waiting for me, and the Series 3 Steelbook was waiting for me.
Oh right, yeah.
Did you buy it in the end?
I didn't buy it at that price, no.
Because I think people, regular listeners will remember that I particularly was really unimpressed with the artwork and was quite vocal about it. It is one of those things that it does actually look better in hand. I must admit, when I opened it, I was like, oh, here it is. Because I bought it because I was never not going to buy it. Obviously, I'm going to buy them all, even if they are, not as good. But it actually looks quite nice. It's nowhere near as good as the first two. There's no two ways about it. But it actually looks better than I was expecting. It's quite a nice little thing. But I agree with you, mate. I'd wait for it to come down a little bit. I think 20 quid would be about right for it. It's
how much did you pay for it then?
$24.99, I think.
Yeah, it's still that on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the first two, they felt pretty special. You sort of think, well, they're worth the money because they look gorgeous and stuff. This one, it just looks nice. If you had it on the shelf, you'd say that's a nice still, but it doesn't have that wow factor of the first two, if you know what I mean. But it's not as bad as I thought. I remember when we first saw the cover, and I was like, well, that's awful.
Yeah. Well, it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere.
They've got loads in stock. So it's $24.99, as we said. But Series 1 is still 30 quid.
Really?
And Series 2 is still 30 quid. So they've dropped the price on this one because they're not selling any.
Well, it's not as good. I mean, it's not, no two ways about it. But it's still all right. As I said, it's better than I thought. I was quite pleasantly surprised when I actually opened it.
I will pick it up, though, just for the OCD satisfaction.
Oh, you've got to have it.
Yeah.
Got to have it.
Don't mind owning the same thing like 3 or 4 times.
I know. Well, that's us Who fans, isn't it? That's what we do.
That's Who fans, mate. Yeah.
A bit like this season 12 box set that's coming out, the Fourth Doctor one. I mean, I heard some people saying, but I've got all the DVDs and stuff. I was thinking, I don't care. I can't wait for that set. Especially now they've released the image of all the limited packaging. I think it looks amazing. Yeah, I'm buzzing for that release. Yeah. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
So that's been me, mate. That's me done and dusted. Somebody had a birthday yesterday. Somebody's a year older.
Thank you. A year closer to death.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah,
not that the glass isn't half empty, but
the beard is grayer and thicker.
That's it. Yeah, a bit more snow in the beard.
Yeah,
a bit more snow on the mountain.
So how was your birthday? Because I saw a certain picture on your Facebook yesterday that I was a bit wowed by. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yesterday ended up being awesome, mate.
It looked it.
I had a little hiccup, but for the most part, it ended up being awesome. So for my birthday, my wife said to me, look, we've got to, because she's nagging me for weeks. She was like, what do you want to do on your birthday? Because she got me to book the day off. And she's like, right, what are we going to do? Because I want to treat you, I'll take you for lunch and whatever. And I couldn't think of anything. I said, let's just jump on the train, go into London, we'll have a look about, and we'll hit up the usual. So I went to FP and picked up a couple of bits there. So I finally caved in for the T-shirt that they released.
Oh, yeah.
A month or so ago.
The logo one.
The new logo with the black, with the white tie. So I caved in and got that finally.
Yeah.
Because I'm sort of, on my journey to getting my head around the new logo, which I'll mention in a minute. But so I picked that up and another couple of bits. So we did that. We went off, did a couple of things. And I went to the BBC offices. Where is it? Where something place, whatever it is.
The where they do the radio.
That's
stuff.
it. Yeah. And because you've been there a few times, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell me, when you've been there before, have you had to pay to go in or pre-book or anything? Because when you go in and you look to the right, you've got the TARDIS prop and the Dalek.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to pay to go in to go and have your photo taken?
No.
And a selfie. So when Nat and I walked through the doors, immediately there was 2 big security guards there saying, Are you BBC staff or press? I said, no, we're just here to have a look at the TARDIS prop and get a photo.
Yeah.
No, you're going to have to leave.
What?
I said, are you sure? Because, with all due respect,
Since when?
I know a lot of, my friends who have been here multiple times and have taken photos and it's been fairly chilled. No, we've put a stop to all that now. You can't go any further than this 2-foot area without a pass or anything.
What?
So I said, okay. It is, I tried to play up, a little bit. I said, look, it's my birthday today. My wife brought me into London. I'd like to get, something Doctor Who related, picture-wise. Can I just sneak over there? I'll take one photo and then I'll be out your hair.
Yeah.
No.
Not having it. Blimey.
So that was, it felt like I was trying to, break into somewhere.
Yeah, I'm really surprised about that. I mean, it's not that long ago. I was in there.
That's what I thought. You were in there.
I took a million pictures of. Because they used to have used to go in. They got the TARDIS and the Dalek on the right. Then you turn left and then right again, and there was a little BBC shop. And in the shop they had like the EastEnders pub, like a giant picture and some other stuff, and you could look through the glass window and watch the BBC News being made and stuff, and and then I know not so long ago they closed the shop, probably about a few months back, 6 months maybe. They closed the shop, so you couldn't go in that bit anymore. But I know friends not even that long ago that literally weeks ago were going in and just having pictures of the TARDIS, because that's what we do when we're in London. We go and find these little places that
absolutely.
So that's quite sad actually that they've knocked it on the head, because it's only just inside the door as well. It's not as if you could suddenly run in and get into the studios. It's literally before you even get to the desk.
Yeah, well, they've got some metal detectors there. Just as you go in through the main doors now, they've got some like metal detectors and stuff, and there's like security guards there as well. There's no way you could get through there to the proper office area. So literally, like you said, as you walk in and turn right, there's a couple of little sofas, and then you've got them there. So I tried my best, mate, but they weren't having it.
Oh man, that's sad.
That was a hiccup. So and then after that was on our way back to St Pancras to get the train home. Who do I bump into? McCoy,
Sylvester himself.
Yeah. So it was one of those times, mate, where the stars were aligned.
I love that saying.
Because if I hadn't have been thrown out of the BBC studios like some hooligan trying to break in, I would have missed him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I love it when stuff like that happens.
It's awesome, yeah. I literally bumped into him. So, when I noticed him, I said to my wife, I was like, that's Sylvester McCoy. She was like, no, it's not. I said, that's Sylvester McCoy. I'm telling you, I said, I'd never be wrong about this.
So did you literally bump into him?
Yeah. Well, I sort of, when you look up and then you're about to walk into someone, so you sort of move
you're about to say, oi, get out of my, oh, hello.
Yeah. And, and she was like, well, go and get a photo. I was like, no. Because the thing with me is that if I see a celebrity out on the street, just, doing their day-to-day life sort of stuff, I don't know. I just don't like to disturb them, because I know that, sometimes when they're not at conventions or whatever, they just like to get on.
Yeah.
They don't want to, so I sort of respect that sometimes. But then I thought, so we walked off around the corner, and then I thought, you know what? Nah, sod it. I'm going to go and chance
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. So Nat went off and did some shopping, or have a look at the shops in St Pancras. I went round, waited for him to finish buying whatever he was buying in his food shop, like packs of ham and whatever. And I went up to him and just said, I noticed you a little while ago, and I'd really like to have a selfie with you because you're one of my favourite doctors. And he was really friendly. He was like, yes, of course. No problem. So we had a selfie, and then I just stood there and had a chat with him for about 10 minutes, I think. It was just awesome. Yeah, it was. He was telling me. I bet
you were really relieved.
Yeah, because if he'd have said, no.
Do you mind?
Yeah, I would have felt really bad. Yeah. But no, he was really cool. He was really friendly and relaxed, and he was telling me about this epic trip he's going to go on in a few months. He's
And where's he off?
Yeah, he's going to China.
Is he?
To see his granddaughter being born.
Oh, right.
But he said he's sick and tired of flying these days. So he's doing a land trip. So he's going via Russia, somewhere else. He's going all over the place.
Oh,
it's going to take him like 3 months or something to get there.
Yeah.
And so he was going to the Russian embassy in London to sort out his visa for it. So he was telling me about that, which he was quite enthusiastic about. And then I was asking him if he's got any. I knew he was going to be at London Comic-Con anyway, but I said, have you got any cool conventions coming up? He was like, no, I'm in London in July as usual. Asked him about Big Finish, if he's got anything cool he can tell me about that. He said, no. He said, I've not. He said, I've done a couple of bits which might be out. I said, I don't know when they're going to put them out. But he said, but I've done a few things a couple of months back. But he said, but I've got nothing planned. He said, because I've got this really long trip coming up. I'm going to be away for quite a while. He said, I've got nothing else planned.
They do recording quite far in advance, they've done it. I remember them saying they've got like 2 years worth of Tom Baker still to release and stuff. So yeah.
So I don't think he's going to do anything immediately. And then I asked him about if he was going to be involved in the new Lord of the Rings TV series that Amazon are doing in the next year or so. Because I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and stuff. And when I said that to him, I said, I don't just want to bore you about Doctor Who. I said, I love your character of Radagast in The Hobbit. I said, it was amazing. And he was like packed up. He was like, oh, thank you. He said, that was great fun going over there to do that. I said, are you going to be involved in the new Amazon stuff? And he went, no. I said, I haven't heard anything from anybody, and I don't assume I will do. But it's it was just really cool to, and he was just so relaxed and friendly. You know, it was, because some celebrities can be a little bit twitchy around fans, especially when you catch them on the hop. You know, they just feel like, I just want to get on. You know, you've had your selfie. Thanks a lot, but bye. But he was just, he wasn't in any rush to go anywhere. It looked like he'd done what he needed to do and was just mulling around, really, not doing much. So
it's really nice. I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you see a celebrity on the street, it's should I approach him, because you might catch him at the wrong moment and stuff. I think the fact it was A, your birthday, B, you love McCoy's Doctor, and C, that you just caught him, at a good moment, I think is brilliant. That's just such a nice experience, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's really cool. And the photo you got of him's a great picture as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
Really good selfie. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a McCoy themed few days as well, because I've put a picture on Insta a few evenings ago. I was watching Remembrance while I was doing some coding work on our new website. So I was like, I'm having a really cool Doctor Who themed sort of McCoy night. And then in FP, I just really, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a little Imperial faction Dalek, the little figurine magazine. I thought, I'll have that as well. And it had McCoy's picture on it. And then I bumped into him at St Pancras. So it's been a really cool sort of McCoy themed few days, which is awesome.
Isn't it weird, isn't it, how stuff like that happens? Like, do you know what I mean? London's a big place, the world's a big place, and yet the two of you just happen to be at the same time. It's pretty amazing, actually.
The stars aligned, mate.
The stars aligned. But I bet you were buzzing. I bet that was like, especially being your birthday, I bet all the way back you were buzzing on that train. I would be.
It made my day, mate. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he was nice, Did you mention the podcast to him?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, when's he coming on?
Yeah. Well, I did say to him, just before I left, I said, by the way, I run a Doctor Who podcast. Yeah. And we're always very, very, we speak highly of you very regularly. And he was happy about that. And I said, I'm going to Showmasters Film and Comic-Con, so I'll come and get a pic, but I want you to record an intro for the podcast for us.
Oh, cool.
And he said, I'll do that. No worries. So it was good.
Excellent stuff, mate. Yeah. That's awesome.
It was really awesome. It made my day. It was awesome. Other than that, not too much else. I've been watching some of the Hartnell stuff on Twitch. You've probably seen that a lot, mate, on social.
I've seen it everywhere,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be honest, being a bit of an old dinosaur, I don't even know what Twitch is, but from what I can see, it's been really popular, which is fantastic. Cool. Anything that is introducing classic Who to new people, I'm all for it. So just briefly tell me, mate, what is Twitch? Is it an online? Because somebody said to me, it's the last place. No, it was you on the podcast, I think. Said it's the last place in the world you'd expect classic Doctor Who or something.
That's
and
right.
Yet it seems to have been really popular. So what is it? What is Twitch?
Yeah, so Twitch is essentially a streaming platform, predominantly for video gamers.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just, you run your PC or your games console through it, and it streams it out onto their app or their website, and then people just log on and follow people playing video games, essentially. But what Twitch are doing is they're trying to sort of broaden their audience a little bit. So a lot of the streamers that do not just video games, they're also doing things like live talk shows now and podcasts through the Twitch app. And they've also started to branch out and do these like TV marathons, and Classic Who seems to be the one that's really grabbed the attention in social media.
Yeah.
So what they do is they stream, the program, and you watch it as you would do any other thing, but you've got sort of a real-time chat. So everybody that's watching it can chat and, put their opinions across and stuff. And when you've got 15,000 people watching it and you've got the chat, streaming beside, it's quite a fun experience. It's really good.
I've seen a lot of people saying about the chat being quite entertaining, for better or worse. And also this big London 1965 thing exploded while I was away. So I opened my Twitter, while I'm in Vietnam, whatever, and it's like everyone's like quoting 1965, and I was like, what's this about? What is this about? And it was used in the trailer, right? So why did it become a big thing? Because I still don't really get it. I know what it is. It's Ian and Barbara being dropped back on Earth, and he goes, "Look, Barbara, it's London, 1965." Yeah. But why has that become a thing? I don't quite get it.
Well, this is one. Well, like you said, the chat, you take it for better or worse. But this is one of the things that has come out of that. So all it takes is a few people to like that little nugget of the story.
I see.
And then everyone else sort of latches onto it, and then it becomes a hashtag, and then
it's become a thing,
and it explodes. Yeah, so it's really, really cool. And I've watched loads of Hartnell, mate. I've watched, so it started on, when was it? The end of May, 29th of May, something like that. So I've watched Unearthly Child, the Daleks, the Aztecs, Invasion of Earth, the Romans, the Web Planet, the Time Meddler, the Gunfighters.
Oh, wow.
And the War Machines.
The Gunfighters, oh my goodness.
The Gunfighters, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been just really cool to, it feels like a global Who event where you've got thousands of people watching it with you. It doesn't feel like you're isolated at home, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to run for ages. I think it's another 6 weeks worth of, or 5 weeks worth of Who. It's going to go all the way up to McCoy's era. So I don't think they're showing every single one. They're showing 500 episodes or stories.
Right.
So they're going to miss out a few, but for the most part, it's all there.
I'll tell you what has really warmed my heart seeing the comments on Twitter is the amount of people that are now loving Hartnell, because I love Hartnell's Doctor, and he often, people kind of dismiss him a little bit, and it just seems like a lot of people are rediscovering him through this, which to me can only be a good thing. Like I've seen a lot of people saying, I've just watched I can't think. The War Machines was on the other night. I think people saying, I loved it. Oh wow, Hartnell's such a good Doctor, and I'm like, yes, he is a good Doctor. I'm so glad that people are like, and I always assume that Doctor Who fans have seen every episode. Just in my head, I always assume people have just seen everything. So it's always great when I see that people are watching stuff for the first time and they're like really getting into the black and white stuff, like. The fact that somebody may never have watched the black and white Doctor Who before, but because it's on and they've sat there and they've watched it and they've really, it's really got them into it. I just think it's great. I think Team of the Cybermen was on last night. I saw a lot of Team of the Cybermen tweets and people quoting it, and people were quoting the War Machines. Doctor Who is required, and it's brilliant. It's so good, and I'm so glad it's popular, because the BBC now might just sort of. It's probably given them a bit of a confidence boost in Doctor Who again, because they know it's popular, but it's taken a dip this last couple of years. We all know that.
Yes.
And so the fact that this has really taken off in a big way, I think it will have taken them a little bit by surprise as well. And I think it's all good going towards the new series as well. And, I'm just really pleased it's been so popular because, like you said, it's an unlikely choice of platform. So
it's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And also it's really accessible as well. So Twitch has got a website that you can go to, or you can put the Twitch app on your phone or your iPad. So you can watch Classic Who pretty much from wherever you are.
Do you have to sign up to it, or can you just literally go to the website and watch it?
No, you can just go to whatever the URL is. I think it's twitch.tv/Twitch presents.
Cool. I'm going to have a look tonight to see.
Yeah, very cool. So last night, June the 5th, was Tomb of the Cybermen, the Ice Warriors, and the Enemy of the World.
Oh, superb.
And it's on for a good few hours, mate. It's they play like 3 stories in a row. Tonight, June the 6th, we've got the Web of Fear, the Dominators, and the Mind Robber.
Oh, Dominators is a bit, but Mind Robber, yes, good one.
And then, what's today? Wednesday. And then tomorrow, Thursday the 7th, the Crotons, the Seeds of Death, and then the War Games.
Oh, wow. War Games?
Yeah, which leads us nicely into Saturday, June the 8th, or Friday, should I say, June the 8th, Spearhead from Space and the Silurians.
Oh, it's just glorious, isn't it?
It's awesome,
great.
mate. Yeah.
It's so good, yeah.
Very, very cool. So I've been watching.
Should be having a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it tonight. I'll get myself into it, see what's going on.
Yeah. Other than that, mate, that's been it's been a really cool week for both of us, I think, who-wise.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
I got into a bit of a bit of a discussion
kerfuffle.
On, not really a kerfuffle, but I got into a bit of a conversation on the interwebs about the new logo.
Oh, yeah, I saw,
which is funny, yeah.
Were you wearing your new T-shirt at the time?
It was, so I looked on iPlayer because they've put all of Who on there, which we'll come on to in the news. And I put a screenshot saying, they've put this bloody logo on everything now. And that was the floodgates, mate. I just had. And it was Clayton Hickman, actually, that replied back to me and said, I'm not getting all the hate for the logo and stuff. And I replied back saying, no, don't get me wrong. It's I'm not hating on the logo. It just feels, wrong to disregard like all the previous era logos. And I said, and I end up speaking to about, I don't know, 10, 15 different people on Twitter about it. And some people are like, yeah, I agree, it doesn't suit. And some people are like, just get over yourself, why are you being such a bleep and a bleep? And, it's just Who fandom, sometimes when you say something, you have to expect.
It's just social media, full stop, mate. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. No, go on, sorry.
It's water for ducks back for me. It's just funny, that's fandom. Yeah.
It's so true. It does some things it really suits because I do like the new logos, So for example, like I had the issue of Tales from the TARDIS waiting for me when I come back, that comic magazine.
Oh yeah.
And it's the first one to feature the new logo, right? But because it's quite a small comic and the way the artwork is, they've stacked it. So it's the first time it's the first time I've seen it stacked on a comic. It's not the first time I've seen the logo stacked, but on something physical.
Oh, right.
And it doesn't look right. It doesn't look. It looks a bit weird, So I get what you mean. I mean, as I said, as someone, I quite like the new logo, but some things it looks great when it's going all across it, and I think some of the sort of new BBC audios coming out looks good. But other things, it just looks a bit weird.
It does, yeah.
It's funny because you'll see in my, I just reviewed the Robert Harrop Man-Dragg-Ara, right? And the box for that's got the great big chunky logo on. All their boxes have got that lovely big chunky logo. And I think, I'm not even sure what logo it is. It looks a bit like the McGann one or something. I don't know if you know what I mean. But I was saying in my review, it's only a matter of time before this changes to the skinny one. And it's really going to get lost on that box. It's going to look really odd, I think. But anyway, I did see you open the floodgates.
Yeah. But it was cool. I had a good chat with Clayton. We exchanged a few tweets and
cool.
Just clarified with everybody that I don't hate the logo. I'm not hating on it. I'm not trying
to... Well, you bought a T-shirt with it on, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and it is growing on me. Don't get me wrong. It is slowly growing on me. But but I think the thing that I like it on the most that I've seen, where you would not expect to see it, and I hated it at first, is the Series 12 Blu-ray box set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I first saw it, as you know, I thought, this is outrageous. How dare they?
How
But now I've seen like the inside of that box set and the booklet and the discs and you know how it all sort of looks together. I think actually that's not, you know, I'll eat my words on that one. That looks pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I must admit, I do wish that they had like an alternative. You know, like Big Finish, you can swap the cover. I do wish that if you took the slipcase off, it had the nice Tom Diamond logo.
Right,
but you know, beggars can't be choosers. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
In a way, though, you know, we'll look back on everything that's been out merchandise-wise for Doctor Who in the next year or two, and it will be unmistakable.
That's true.
What's Doctor Who, because everything will have it, and it's consistent and unified, and
I do like that. Yeah.
So in that respect,
I agree with you.
Yeah, we'll be thankful, I suppose, in a year or two.
Yeah.
Anyways, mate, I suppose we should get on and do a bit of news.
Yeah, go for it, land it.
So first up, already mentioned it in the waffle, but all of Doctor Who, back from the 2005 revival, is now on BBC iPlayer.
Hurrah!
For your viewing pleasure. If you're in the UK, you're doubly spoilt because all of it's already on Netflix. But if you prefer iPlayer, if that's your choice of streaming service, then you've got the lot on there. And there was a few tweets and stuff knocking about. I noticed it when they first announced it, but there were a few episodes that were missing at first.
Oh.
Series 10, The Pilot, The Impossible Astronaut, and another one. They were all missing, but now they're not.
Oh, I wonder why that was.
So they were late to the party. They were the episodes that were stuck in traffic. Or they were just messing around outside. But yeah, so the whole lot's on there, mate. And I watched a few of them yesterday. I watched Rose. I watched the Parting of the Ways and Bad Wolf.
Oh, superb.
Super duper.
It's actually still, to this day, that's one of my favourite two-parters since the show came back. I absolutely adore Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways. I never, ever get bored watching it. It's the speech. It's the hologram speech. I wait for it every time. I love that scene.
Yeah, I was tweeting as I was watching, mate. And
it reduces me to rubble every time. Chris's performance is amazing in that. Yeah.
I read you.
Have a good life. Oh,
have a good.
I'm going now. I'm going. No, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's so good. It's excellent to have them all up on iPlayer again. Actually, it's it feels like they belong there. Like they should be there for to be accessed. So that when you come in after a hard day's work, you can just crash on the sofa, iPlayer on, bit of Eccleston, bit of Tennant, whatever, and it's great to have them at your fingertip. Yeah.
It is, yeah. But as a casualty of that, though, the Sarah Jane Adventures are no longer on there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no!
So they were all on there, but now they're not.
Oh, but a lot of our listeners have been using that to watch along with our reviews. Oh no!
Oh no! That's the
I hope
BBC.
They come back on. Oh, it's the BBC for you, isn't it? Yeah.
Thou shalt giveth, thou shalt taketh away.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I hope they put them back on.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, that is good news. Right, in other news, Big Finish are taking a step away from the physical format. I think this has been a long time coming, actually. So I really like what they've done, because when I first saw that they put this announcement out, I was really worried, because I like a physical CD, and I love the fact that Big Finish give you the download every time you buy CD. So, you got the download there if you want to, and you get a physical product to arrive in the post. So what they're doing is, because, they can't just keep producing CDs to keep in a warehouse for, somebody to buy every once a month, after they've been released. So what they're going to do is they're going to produce a limited stock of CDs for each audio from now on. So we're not talking about their back catalogue. They'll deal with that in a different way. But so for every new release that they announce from now on, it'll have a limited lifespan on CD for at least 12 months. And then they'll see how the sales are going, and then they'll decide whether they need to press any more, or if they're going to just get rid of that stock and that'll be it. But obviously the downloads will be available for forever, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's good because I was worried that, as I said, when they announced this, because I know digital is such a big thing now, and I know a lot of people don't buy CDs because they haven't got the room for them all, which is something we can both relate to. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh no, they're not announcing they're stopping doing CDs, are they? Which they're not, and I think what they've decided to do is perfect because it gives you a year. If you want the CD, you get it within a year of it being released. And the good thing about Big Finish is that they are really good at communicating with their customers. So like they've said in their announcement, they won't just suddenly vanish. We'll tell you when stocks are going to get low. We'll tell you when, we're going to discontinue them. So, it'll be like, if you want a last chance to get it, if you haven't got it, we'll give you advance warning. So that's really good. They're also going to do, for some releases, they're going to do like limited runs where they'll only do like 500 CDs.
Yeah.
So rather than being available for just a year, they'll just do like a limited batch of each of those, and when they're gone, they're gone. And again, they'll tell you when they're going to do that. So I love the strategy. I think it's absolutely perfect for them, and I totally get why they're doing it. And it starts from now, basically, from any sort of releases from now. Yeah.
No, I think it's good because I think if they just took a hammer to all of the CDs and went completely digital, I think that would, like yourself, mate. There's lots and lots of Big Finish fans that like the physical CD.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's only for me. It's literally just a space problem. I just don't have the room to have any more, CDs, especially the box sets. Stacking up. I just literally haven't got any more room. Yeah, which is why I went over to digital only. But I do think this is the first step in going digital only. I would say that in the next few years, not immediately, but because they're saying that they're going to stock a certain amount of them for 12 months after release. Yeah. And then decide to take them out of print or whatever. But I would say that digital downloads are always increasing and physical copies are always decreasing. And I think it will get to a point, I'm not saying, immediately, but in the next few years where they will say, unless it's like a special edition sort of thing, then you can get the box set as a CD, but otherwise it'll all be digital. But I think in the meantime, this is a great strategy.
Yeah, I love it because, like you said, as CD sales goes down, the production cost goes up. So you have to take that into account as well, because before long they'll have to probably charge like 20 quid for a double CD, and people will be saying, "Oh, I'm not spending 20 quid on a double CD." But it's inevitable because production costs go up as sales go down. So it's a bit of a catch-22, and I can totally see why they're doing it. But as someone who likes to still have a physical release, I think it's I think it's a really good strategy. It gives me time to get it, and then if it goes out of print, then fair dues. But yeah, I like the big announcement. I love the way they've worded it and what they've done.
It's good, yeah. And I like that they've not increased their... the chairman, Jason, said that they've not increased the cost of their CDs since 2004. But during that time, the cost of production of CDs has gone up.
Of course, yeah.
So he thinks that this policy will please both sets of fans, which I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed, over the last couple of years as well, they've sort of cut back on the physical release anyway. So you normally get the double-sided cover, but in the earlier releases, like the first sort of 150 whatever, you used to get nice little photos from behind the scenes to record. They used to be at least a sort of 4 or 5. No, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-page booklet or whatever. Now it's just a 2-page or a little one folded in half sheet of, what I mean? So you can see that they've sort of tried to cut corners to keep the price where it is. But as I say, it's inevitable, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And it costs a lot of money to print those booklets and have somebody design them and all that.
And the photos. Yeah, it's all cost. Yeah.
So last bit of news. The BBC are going to close one of their legendary recording studios, the Maida Vale, over in is it West London, I think? West London. So this recording studio, or this building, should I say, has been there since 1933. A long old time, and the BBC purchased it back in the 50s, I think, and they demolished all the inside and they refurbed it and built a load of custom recording studios. And it was a roller skating place and a nightclub before that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So it obviously wasn't doing very well. The BBC bought the building, completely ripped out the inside, and then created all these really cool recording studios. But from the late 50s up until the late 90s, it was the home of the Radiophonic Workshop.
Yeah.
So it's in that very place where Delia Derbyshire and all the other guys there did the very first and the early theme tunes for Doctor Who. So Ron Grainer, who composed it initially, gave it to those guys, and they're like, do your thing. You guys are playing around with all this cool electronic stuff. Do your thing.
Yeah.
And they came back with this really, creepy, what's now, one of the most well-loved and well-known things. And it all happened in that building, in that studio. But, the BBC being the BBC, who seem to not value any kind of history or nostalgia at all, have decided to just demolish the entire thing. And as usual, the BBC are sort of masking this in, whatever they usually do. And they've said that that the closure will be replaced by a new state-of-the-art facility, moving to Olympic Park in East London.
Oh.
So they're going to close this one, presumably they're going to knock it down, turn it into flats, or they're going to just knock it down and sell it, and then they're going to set up a new facility over in East London. So, Maida Vale, the legendary home of Radiophonic Workshop, is going to be no more.
It's sad, isn't it? A lot of history in that building. It is sad. Yeah.
But I think there's bucket loads of photos and everything from their time there and when they made all the Doctor Who music and stuff. So, but yeah, it's just a little bit sad. A little bit sad.
It is. It's a bit like the BBC Television Centre. I never, ever, ever imagined that would be anything other than Television Centre. I couldn't believe it when they closed that. But there we go. These things, times change. But yeah, sad.
It's sad. That's going to do for news. Shall we see if our Dalek friend has missed you?
Yeah, let's see if he's missed me.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Oi.
Nothing. Not even a acknowledgement. Not even a flashing of the eye. Unbelievable.
Oi, don't be so rude.
He's terrible, isn't he?
So rude.
He's getting worse.
He hasn't even.
I thought you might have brought him into line a bit while I was away, but he's got worse.
Well, there aren't enough backhanders going around. Clearly.
No.
So rude. Anyways,
what's he got?
Jenny's back.
Jenny,
the doctor's daughter / wife. So
wrong, isn't it?
Whatever, yeah, so wrong. But yeah, Jenny is coming to Big Finish immediately. As you're listening to this, you'll be able to nip over to the Big Finish website and pick it up.
Yeah.
So this has been a while coming, I believe. I think Georgia Tennant, I think she still uses Georgia Moffat, I'm not sure, but Georgia Tennant put something on Twitter about this ages ago. Long time ago. And but yeah, she's the character of Jenny. Anyone that's seen the episode, the Doctor's daughter, is the I can't remember exactly, but don't they sort of take a swab of his DNA and then they've got this machine that immediately generates a clone, not a clone, but like not a sibling. What's the word?
A daughter. I don't know the word, but I know what you mean. An offspring, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it happened to be this female character called Jenny. And the bit of blurb for it, so Jenny is brand new to the universe, born a soldier made from war. She has a Time Lord's heritage. Luckily, that Time Lord is the Doctor. And now 10 years since we first met her, the Doctor's daughter has her own adventures for you to discover courtesy of Big Finish. She's ready to save planets, fight monsters, and save the day using nothing but her bravery, wit, and instinct, and an awful lot of running.
An awful lot of running on audio. That would be exciting.
Yeah, you're just hearing footsteps for 10 minutes, running down a corridor.
Action music.
So what do you reckon, mate? Jenny, the character Jenny, do you reckon it's worthy of a full-on 4-story Big Finish release? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I kind of, it is one of those characters I think should have been picked up. But the only problem is I think it should have been picked up a long time ago, because I haven't really got much enthusiasm for it now. I think if this had come out like 5 years back, whatever, I would have been like, yeah. The only thing I would, I mean, me personally, I'm not that bothered about it. I probably won't get this just because I've got so much Big Finish. You know, I have to be a bit picky and choosy. But I will say this: I think if anyone's going to do it, Big Finish are the people to do it. They will make it good. You know, they'll make it a fun listen. So I'm sure it'll be entertaining and good. But it's not one that's going to go in my collection anytime soon, I'm afraid. But mainly because of cost and space, to be honest. I think it'll be quite good. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. As I said, I just don't have much enthusiasm for it now. But it does seem a character that needed sort of, you know, taking on, I think. Because it was strange that they created her and then just did absolutely nothing with her. Because wasn't it Moffat that said, you know, don't kill her off? I've got ideas.
Yes.
And then never did anything. Yep. So yeah, it's good. It's good to, you know, pick up from that story. But yeah, what do you think, mate? Is this for you?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it might be good. Don't get me wrong. I didn't mind the character of Jenny. I'm just not sure if I want to splash out any bucks to.
I was going to say it's one I would sort of get in a sale down the line or something. Yeah. It's not one I feel like I need right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Yeah, we're not saying that this is terrible or by any means because we haven't listened to it. But yeah, it just for me, I don't know. It just feels like
it feels a bit sort of 5 years too late to me.
Yeah, unless reviews start coming out and say it's amazing and it's a definite pickup, then maybe. But it's out now. 20 quid for download, 23 for the CD.
CDs, what are they?
Coasters.
Coasters. Right, coming out from Big Finish as well. Now, this is something I am excited about. It's an exclusive vinyl. So they recently did one which was exclusive to Sainsbury's of the Fourth Doctor story, Energy of the Daleks, which
I missed.
Was quite limited, wasn't it? And hard to find and now sells for silly money on eBay. This one looks gorgeous. It's going to be just as limited, if not more, and it's going to be exclusive to HMV, and it's Doctor Who Infamy of the Zaros, which is the 10th Doctor and Rose story, and it's going to be yellow vinyl, which looks nice. Talking of the logo earlier, I think it looks really good on this release. I don't know about you. I think this is one of the instances where it suits it.
Absolutely, mate. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, because I really like the cover of this. I think it's really nice. So this is going to be exclusive in store only from HMV from the 16th of June. So which is next weekend, is it?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. And I don't know how much it's going to be. The Energy of the Daleks one was £18, so hopefully it'll be around the similar sort of price range.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. HMV have struggled for a little bit over the last few years, so I'm tempted to think they might mark it up a little bit more, but I'm thinking probably 20 or 25.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah,
it does look nice though. You're going to be, have you got a HMV near you? Because if you don't live in London, they can be a bit sparse these days.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, we normally go to Milton Keynes.
Oh right,
I've got a fairly decent one there, so I'll have a look in there. So yeah, the 16th is next Saturday. Yes.
So yeah, get yourself down. It's limited to only 750 copies. And now that might sound a lot, but believe me, spread across the country, that isn't a lot. So if you don't want to miss out, go and grab it next Saturday from HMV, because it's so frustrating when people just go and buy loads of these and shove on eBay for like 80 quid. I get really annoyed about that. I've seen like the Energy of the Daleks on eBay for silly prices. It's just it annoys me because it just denies fans owning something that they should own for the price it should be. Do you know what I mean? It really gets my goat when people do that. But anyway, so go and grab it. Good luck, guys, if you want it. I've only got one HMV near me, and otherwise it means a trip to London. So. And also, it's very close to our good friend Adam, the Ultimate Whovian. I've got visions of us like fighting over the one copy in the stores. It's fine. I got here first. Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it looks like a decent story as well. It's been reviewed fairly well.
Yeah.
So, yes, we shall see.
We shall see.
Indeed. And last bit of news. we mentioned this on last week's show, but we've got some more details for it now. Class is coming back via Big Finish.
Hooray!
And crikey. And it's another example of when the logo looks very cool on a cover. Do you know what it is, mate? I think overall with this logo, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but I think, and myself and Clayton Hickman said exactly the same thing about it, is that the design decision on what goes behind the logo is so important now. Because if you use it on a really light background or a busy background, it just doesn't work. It's lost, yeah. It's completely lost. But on something like this, like we just mentioned, the vinyl release, it looks really good. And the Class cover actually looks fairly cool. And I really like it. I really like how the logo is used there. But anyway, there are 2 volumes of Class, and they're both due out in August. What do you reckon about this, mate? Because normally Big Finish spread these out a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're just going to release them at the same time. It doesn't say an exact date at the minute. It just says August. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one to put both volumes out, sort of at the same time.
I thought that as well. I was a bit like, does seem weird. If you're going to do volumes 1 and 2, yeah, it does seem strange to why not just do one big box set or whatever. But I guess it spreads the cost out. I don't know. Yeah.
But you can definitely tell that they're putting their new sort of strategy into place with this one, because these are an example of the limited physical copies that they're going to start doing. So both volumes are limited to 500 copies. And as Adam said in reference to the previous item, it sounds a lot. But when you've got, I don't know if there's 500 Class fans out there. But when you've got, a big portion of fandom across the country, and not just the UK, Big Finish Big Finish ship globally. So I'm assuming that there are more than 500 Class fans around the world, because it seemed to do very well in America. That's really not a lot at all. So if you are a fan of Class and you're looking forward to this on Big Finish and you want the physical copy, I would suggest pre-ordering this one. And you can tell that the strategy has filtered down to their pricing as well, because normally it's only a couple of quid difference. But with this one, the pre-order digital only is £15 and the CD is £20. So there's a £5 difference now. It's normally 2 or 3 quid, but yeah, so 20 quid if you want the CD.
And you can get them as a bundle as well. I think you can get volumes 1 and 2 for 38 quid, which actually isn't bad, really. For the 2 sets, it's just under 40 quid if you're if you want Class.
Yeah, it's strange for me because they tried this out with the Tennant story volume, didn't they? It's only a 3-episode volume.
Yeah.
So if it was 4 episodes on each volume, then I reckon that would be good value. But and I'm trying so hard not to let our opinion of Class on the TV cloud this bit of news for fans who want to pick it up on Big Finish. So I know that you probably won't get this.
Well, no, I'll say this. I mean, I think it was inevitable that Class was going to be picked up by Big Finish. So I'm pleased for those fans that wanted it, because I have seen a lot of people on Twitter really, really pleased about this announcement. And I think that's more because they've got faith in Big Finish doing something good with it. Because to be honest, if anyone's going to pick out the few, redeeming qualities that Class had and make something of it, I think it's Big Finish. So there is potential there. So I'm pleased for those fans. I mean, regular listeners will know I thought the TV show was a shambles. So I wasn't very excited when this got announced, but I was pleased for those that were. One thing I would say, though, Big Finish threw in a little hook there, because obviously I immediately thought, well, I won't be getting that, but good on them. But then they did throw in the thing that they're putting Ace in there. They're bringing back Sophie Aldred to Coal Hill School. Now, that did slightly, I'll be honest with you, even though I can't stand Class, that did slightly tempt me, because I was thinking, well, Big Finish, the actual cast, bless them, were really nice. They were good. They're good guys. I've nothing against the people who produced it. So there is a bit of potential there, and there is a very tiny bit of me that would like to hear Ace go back to Coal Hill and meeting these guys, because a bit like you said on your previous podcast with Phil, it needed something to tie it into Doctor Who.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it needed something to ground it in the Doctor universe. Now that's exactly what it sounds like Big Finish are doing by putting Ace in there. So I'm thinking, okay, already they've improved it for me. So there is a part of me, I will admit, that's a little bit curious by this. I don't think I'm going to buy them, but I haven't dismissed it like you might imagine because of that. Because I'm thinking, okay, I'm slightly intrigued by it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll wait and see what the reviews are. I'll wait and have a look in my Doctor Who group chats and see what people make of it, and before I make a decision. But yeah, I'm pleased for those that want it.
Yes, absolutely. For those fans of Class that are into it still, it's good news for you guys. And I think Ace is in volume 2.
Oh, she's in volume 2. Okay,
yes, with a famous Doctor Who monster as well.
Oh, really? But we don't know which.
It's the Daleks. Because it's on the website.
Okay.
It's not a spoiler. They've actually put it out there. Nick Briggs is the voice of the Daleks, yeah.
Of course he is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, mate? I know you're not going to pick these up.
I don't think so, mate. I mean, it's a shame, really, because by bringing somebody like Ace into the show and having, the Daleks in there and stuff, it's all stuff that should have been in the TV show.
Yeah, it's a good move, yeah.
Yeah, it's all stuff that would have made, a much better show, because then it would have had some legitimate reason to put in the world of Doctor Who on the cover.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit, and I don't mean to be, negative. I think it is good news. Don't get me wrong, it is good news. And I don't mean to come across as, negative ninny, but it just feels like it's a bit shoehorning stuff in a bit too late into Class's lifespan, if you like. But you never know. It could turn out to be very, very cool. So here's hoping it's a good show.
Yeah.
Yes. That's going to do for news and merch.
Right.
Now we're on to our review of Classic Who.
Yes.
What's the story?
Because I thought I was going to miss this one, but it's come full circle, isn't it? So this week it's the 4th Doctor story, The Mask of Man-Dragg-Ara.
What is your name?
Doctor, please don't threaten me, Count. I've come here to help you.
How can you help me?
A wave of energy has been released.
Man-Dragg-Ara energy.
And I brought it here. It could do untold damage. I must take it back to the stars.
Things are bad, aren't they?
If Man-Dragg-Ara gained control, and man's ambition wouldn't stretch beyond the next meal.
The entire Earth. Mine.
It's begun. The Brethren are driving people from the town.
Will be swept aside. Like the dirt that you are.
As it was written, the power of Man-Dragg-Ara will flood the earth.
Well.
Good trailer.
Good trailer, yeah.
Man-Dragg-Ara.
Man-Dragg-Ara.
Before you'll all be screaming, I know you will. It's Man-Dragg-Ara. It's Man-Dragg-Ara. Sorry, Mask of Man-Dragg-Ara.
Well, that was I've been saying it wrong as well.
I never get it right.
Ages. Yeah. So initially I thought, right, I'll whiz through the plot, but I'm sort of 99% with the plot, so I've just gone on to the TARDIS wiki and I'll give it to you from there because it seems fairly succinct. And
I don't blame you.
So, forced off course by the Man-Dragg-Ara helix, the TARDIS,
Man-Dragg-Ara helix.
that pesky thing that gets in the way. The TARDIS lands in the province of San Martino in 15th century Italy. Here, the court astrologer Hieronymus has been taken over by the Man-Dragg-Ara energy form. Hieronymus and the other members of this star-worshipping black magic cult will be used as a bridgehead, enabling the Man-Dragg-Ara helix to conquer the earth and rule it through their chosen servants. The Doctor has to defeat not only the Man-Dragg-Ara energy, but the evil schemes of the murderous Count Frederico, who plans to usurp the place of his nephew, the rightful ruler of the province. So, which sounds correct to me.
Yeah.
So you've got these two storylines going concurrently that are mixed together. You've got the Count Frederico, and his only purpose in life, it seems, is to murder his nephew so that he can be the new Duke of the province. And alongside that, you've got Hieronymus, who is like the astrologer, soothsayer kind of person, who has predicted deaths and so on, and is now in cahoots with the Man-Dragg-Ara helix. And he's trying to sort of, you know, bring him into the realm of Earth so they can take over and so on. And the Doctor's trying to figure it all out. So that was the plot. It was first broadcast in 1976. It's part of Series 14. It was written by Lewis Marks, directed by Rodney Bennett. And there's a fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane story. So what are your thoughts on this one, mate?
My thoughts on this one is that there's a really good story in there. But it's I do find it a bit plodding. It does struggle to hold my attention, this one. It really does. It's funny because it's got so many things going for it. Like the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane, the great location in Port Merion, you know, the costumes and masks are brilliant. The sets are good, you know. And the story's good. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but I do struggle with it a little bit. It's one of those stories, you know, when you go to your Doctor Who shelf, you're thinking, what one shall I watch tonight? And you're looking along, I fancy a bit of the Fourth Doctor, let's have a look. It's never one that I gravitate towards on the shelf, I've got to be honest. And I've watched this twice in the last few weeks, because I watched it just before I went away in case I could record the podcast, and I couldn't. And then last night, because I've been away a month, I thought, I think I need to watch it again, because I didn't really get it, and I zoned out a lot, and I need to watch it again to, you know, try and really get into it. And I must admit, mate, I really struggled again last night. Like, there are bits of it I love, there are bits of it I think are really good. I think production-wise, it's great. But I just kept zoning out. I just kept sort of thinking, you know, I'm watching it, and then I just sort of realised that I was sort of not watching it. I'll back into it, and yeah, I don't know. It plods along a little bit, you know, but I do think there's some great stuff in there. So it's a real mixed bag for me, this one. But I do think it's decent. Yeah. Okay. It kind of reminds me of a sort of first or second Doctor story in the pacing. Like I can also I can sort of almost imagine this being black and white, like an old. Do you know what I mean? Like the pacing and the and the costumes and the acting and the way it's done. It feels very old school to me. Yeah. This, and I don't mean that as a negative at all. I just mean it's got a different tone to it from, say, like, you know, the next story, Hand of Fear, or something like Destiny of the Daleks. It's just got a very old school Doctor Who tone to it, which is much slower. And as I say, it's not a negative, but it does have an impact on my holding my attention at times, this one. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit in the middle on this one, personally. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's... I completely agree with you about it being... It feels like an older story of Doctor Who. It definitely feels like the pacing is quite laboured. In a way. It is. Yeah. But for me, I quite like it. It's not a bad story. It's fairly good, and the supporting cast are fairly good.
They are good, yeah.
I just feel like it could have been one of those cheeky little three-parters for me, because in part 3, it doesn't seem to go anywhere. Sort of once we get into episode 3, it like episode 2 brings us up into this, you know, and then episode 3 gets along, and then it stays there.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. Like, it's one of those classic Who endings. It's a bit lackluster. It sort of all culminates in a minute at the end. So, you know, we've got all this big build up and stuff, and you're expecting like quite a big battle between the what are they, like the monks, the followers of the, you know, the main dude.
Yeah.
What's his name? Hieronymus. So you're expecting like a big battle between, you know, the province's army and these monks, and everything's going to kick off. But then really what happens is the Doctor just, you know, he lures them all in, they electrocute each other, and then they're off. You know, so this whole story has culminated in what seems like is going to be this really big climax and this big battle, and the Doctor's going to throw down. But then he just sort of does his business, takes his hood down, has a little joke, and then him and Sarah Jane are off. Yeah, so I feel like this all could have been, this would have, you know, it would have perfectly fit a three-parter for me. But I don't think it's bad. It's just the pacing more than anything. It just feels like a really old Troughton-y Hartnell sort of, like exactly like you said, like an old black and white deal. But
I do agree about part 3 massively. Yeah, because I think that's where I really struggled, because it really does pick up in the 4th episode. Like there seems to be a lot more going on. It is a case of like a lot of stories where the part 3 is where it's a bit filler. It's definitely one of those stories. Like you said, I think if you'd have made this a 3-parter, I think it would be great, because there's so many good elements in here. It's one of those stories, and there are a few like this where it's sort of just below being a classic. It's like it's got some great stuff, but it doesn't reach the heights of some of the classic Fourth Doctor stories. But then again, it's miles better than sort of, some of the ones like, for example, what's it called? The Leisure Hive, for example. I'm not a fan of Leisure Hive. It's miles above that in terms of the story and the look of it and everything like that. So it's good. It's just missing something for me. And like you said, the pacing is a bit drab in places. And I kept thinking, is it because it hasn't got a strong monster? Is it because the sort of Hieronymus in all his get up and the mask and that, they're really creepy, and they look great, and it's got this very sort of gothic feel, isn't it? But they never, I don't know, never, it sort of feels like it's missing something. And I wonder if part of that is that sort of big threat level monster or something, because it kind of just plods, doesn't it? It plods along, like you said, and the ending's a little bit disappointing. But then we do get that really strange bit where Tom puts the hood back and says, what does he say? Something about having a salami sandwich. And I was like, I did have to rewind it. I put it on Twitter last night because I thought that is so random and so funny. It's so weird. Yeah, it almost feels like an outtake that they've left in. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and then the scene afterwards, he's actually got a big chunk of salami. He's taken back into the TARDIS. It's really random, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, it's a bit of a plodder, mate. I mean, as I said, I think this does start off great. I love all the stuff in part 1 where they're just walking around the TARDIS and we get introduced to the secondary console room, that lovely wooden set. I mean, that's great, and there's a few little nods. I spotted Pertwee's jacket there and his shirt all covered in dust, and all that's lovely, isn't it? All that stuff. And then we land in the woods, and Baker and Sladen are absolutely on fire in this. I mean, one thing I just noticed watching it again last night is how seriously Tom's taking the role, because some seasons and it's probably more down to the direction, but he's very sort of over the top. He's really playing it straight in this story, but still delivering some great comedy moments. Like, the bit in episode 1 where Sarah gets kidnapped and he's just stood there and he's like, put the girl down. And he's really serious, isn't he? And it's just, he's so in control of his performance. Both of them in this are just totally on par in terms of their performance. So, as I said, there's a lot to like in this. I think, like you said, it just needed a bit. I don't know if it's the direction. It just needed a picking up a bit, because it just limps along a bit in the middle.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, mate. It's one of those. It's one of those things where you just. It's hindsight's beautiful. You can just go back and say, look, you need to tidy this up, and because I think in modern television, if a bit like movies nowadays, if something's not right, they can do reshoots and they can do a lot in the edit and stuff, because they shoot so much but they don't use a lot of it. I think, it's the opposite for Classic Who. It's this scene has to be done to the script. You do it and then you move on. You can't go back and do extra stuff, and you certainly can't go back after you've closed the production on it. That's unheard of. But it's just the pacing.
But what do you think of that set? Because whenever I put this in to watch, I always think it always starts off so promising. I always think to myself, oh yeah, I think I do like this story. It's only really when it gets going that I start to lose interest. I think it starts off great. Like, we've also got a new TARDIS prop as well, haven't we? Yeah. When it lands in the forest, that's that new. Yeah. Doesn't take long for it to get absolutely battered, because I kept thinking it's brand new console, brand new TARDIS prop. It does look quite nice when it lands in the forest, but I mean, I'm thinking, what was the story where the windows are all smashed? It's literally falling apart by is it Nightmare of Eden, where all the windows are all smashed, and It doesn't look very sturdy, even in this, and it's brand new when it lands. It doesn't look as sturdy as the old prop to me.
Yeah.
It's a more square shape, it's a more oblong shape, isn't it? So it's a sort of simplified version of the prop, I think.
Yeah,
by
talons, sort of even by talons.
Yeah.
And then Horror Fang Rocket's starting to look a bit beat up.
Yeah, there's that one. I get confused because but I just remember sort of thinking this one seems to get battered pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, by a few episodes, it's looking a bit like the prop guys haven't handled it very nicely on and off the truck.
Yeah, but I love the console room though. What do you think to the wooden console?
Yeah, it's awesome. It reminds me of a similar one that they used in a story. What was it? There was another TARDIS set, and it was all sort of mahogany and stuff. What was that? It was
which Doctor?
What was it? Was it a McCoy story where they go into the Masters? No. Was it a Baker story? There was a Masters console room, and it was like it was all wooden and mahogany, I think. I
can't remember, but we do see in Mark of the Rani, we see inside the Rani's TARDIS, and it's all black, but I can't think of a wooden one. I might be wrong, but yeah, it's just nice. I always love it when they explore the TARDIS, and I love the idea of all these rooms that you could go in and stuff, and I love the fact that they stay in this console room for this series. I know they junk it, don't they, in the next series, but I like the fact we get a different console room in this one. I think it's unusual. It looks sort of Edwardian and old, and it doesn't look like it'd be a state of the art, electric, TARDIS under all this wood, and that's why I like it. It kind of contradicts itself.
It's awesome, and I think I might be going insane by thinking that there was another wooden TARDIS console somewhere.
I'm trying to think what you're thinking of. You'll probably remember after the podcast. I'm trying to think what you might be confusing it with, because we do get to see various TARDIS console rooms. You're not thinking of the Masters. What's the one where he's got the wooden clock in it? Not thinking of that, are you?
Oh, I don't think so.
In Traken, when he's inside the Melker, he's got like a wooden...
it could be.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be. Anyway, it does look... Anyway, ignore my stupid randoms. But it does look really cool. It looks really... And I love the fact that they're wandering around and there's different rooms and it starts off really cool like that. It's got that really sort of whimsical, because we don't need to see any of that stuff. It's not related to the story. And then we get the Doctor's fiddling, and we see the time vortex, all the energy being drawn in, and they land in this spirally thing with all the, the red things. I'll tell you what it reminds me of, actually. The new logo that they brought out, and they did the little video reveal, and it's got all of those sort of strange rocks in the background.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like that. All of those strange rocks, all the shapes and stuff, it all looks like that, just in a spiral shape.
Perhaps the helix energy's coming back.
Possibly. Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
But no, I thought it was really cool. And then apparently the TARDIS, forcibly gets landed in this time period and this location. But yeah, that's the kickoff, and it's really cool.
It is, because this was the first story in what series are we on now? So this is season 14. So this kickstarted season 14, and it's as I said, I think it's a good way to start. It's almost a shame that the story does sort of peter out a bit, because I don't know what the viewing figures were like for this, but if it was me personally, I'd be sort of, if I was watching this live back in 1976, I probably would have liked the first one, but by episode 3, I think I would have been getting really bored. Because that's the thing, I wouldn't recommend watching this all 4 parts in one go. And I mean, that's what I did last night, just because I only had time. I only had time last night to watch it. But ideally, I would probably watch this parts 1 and 2, and then the next night parts 3 and 4. I think it might work better like that. I think. I think it's sort of 4 episodes watching in one chunk. It's a bit hard going, but maybe if I'd broken it up a bit more, it would have been a bit better. But I don't know. Is it exciting enough for a season opener for you? Do you think?
I wouldn't say it's
no.
No, I wouldn't say it's exciting enough. I think it could have really done with chopping a part out and then making episode 3 sort of more action packed. Rather than just leaving it plodding along. I mean, because more stuff does happen in episode 4. There's
Episode 4 is actually pretty good.
Yeah, there is more stuff happening. It just seems to stay at the same tempo. So it kicks off with the Doctor going off, undercover down in the tomb, and then everyone else is just playing the waiting game. So they're carrying on as if life's normal. They're having the ball and the dance.
That's right,
and the jester,
ball, yeah.
And then Marco, the Duke's sort of close friend.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure is this is my opinion anyway, but I feel like it's more of a relationship than a friendship, that one. But yeah, Marco sort of pops up and says, the monks are surrounding the castle. And when you hear that, you think, right, it's definitely going to kick off.
It's kicking off, yeah.
But then the monks come in and they zap a few people, and then they go downstairs, and nothing really happens, to be honest. But yeah, so it seems like episode 4, while it does have more content, it just sort of seems to go at its own pace still and doesn't really ramp up like you'd expect. But that's due to the not so great ending, in my opinion. But
I know what you mean. I mean, the thing was, I remember when this was scheduled for DVD, back in whenever that was, and I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen this story. So, I was really excited to see it, because obviously I love the Fourth Doctor. I'd seen pictures from it, so I sort of was intrigued by these strange looking hooded, people with these gold masks. It looked, so I'd sort of, how you do when you haven't seen an episode and you sort of build up in your head a sort of picture of what it might be like. And I was very excited to see the fact that it was filmed in Port Merion. I was thinking, I can't wait to see the Fourth Doctor in Port Merion, because being such a big fan of The Prisoner, which was all filmed there, and also having visited the place itself and seen how amazing, Port Merion is just like, it's otherworldly. It's amazing.
Right.
Like, it's just full of strange, colourful buildings and stuff. So I was really excited to see this story when it was coming out on DVD. And I maybe that's part of my disappointment, because they went all the way to blimmin' Port Merion. It's not the easiest place to get to, believe me. It's a bit in the middle of nowhere. You have to get a few little tiny trains to it and stuff. And it's totally worth it when you get there. So they must have dragged all the filming equipment. And then they spend most of it filming in a blimmin' forest, which could have been anywhere. And that always bugged me. I was thinking, one thing that always annoys me about this is I don't think they made the most of the location filming.
Right.
Like, we get to see one bit where the Doctor's going to get his head chopped off, and they show that lovely sort of pillared building that the guy stood in the balcony. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. And then we see a few bits of the Doctor down the stairs. I know they had to sort of dress a lot of it to make it look like, Italy in the whatever century. So I get that, but I just don't think they made the most of what is an amazing location. Because think about it, what do you really see of Port Merion in this? There's a bit when the Doctor and can't remember his name, the guy with the big hair, I think it's the guy, is it Marco, the guy with the big black, there's a bit where they're walking through what is a beautiful building, and with loads of pillars down the side, and it's shot from the front angle, so all you see is a blue wall.
Oh, I see.
I kept thinking, like, obviously I know because I've been there, but if you didn't know, you probably just wouldn't think anything of it. But I'm thinking, God, that could have been shot really nicely. You're not even showing the architecture of this amazing place. I don't know. So who directed it?
It was Rodney Bennett.
Yeah. Rodney Bennett. I mean, I don't know if I'm right to put it at his shoes, but that's one thing that's always really bugged me about this, is that it just, every time I watch it, I just keep thinking, like, there's really amazing buildings all around these actors. We're not seeing any of it, and I don't know if there's a reason for it. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's because it didn't look right for Italy, but I just don't know. I just keep thinking they went all that way, and then all they filmed was in the blimmin' forest. They may have as well have just gone to, like, Hampstead Heath. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those little things that bugs me as someone who's been to Port Merion. It's such an amazing place, and I was so disappointed the first time I watched this on DVD, because I was like, "Is that it? Is that all you're going to show?" But
it's a shame. Yeah,
it is. I definitely think they could have utilised the location a hell of a lot more than they do. It may have been because they didn't want it to look too much like The Prisoner, because obviously in The Prisoner they show all the buildings. Yeah. Maybe it could have been that they didn't want people to say, oh, well, that's the village for The Prisoner. So that could be it. But then but then why go all the way there to do it? I don't know. It's just one of those little things always niggles me every time I watch it.
Yeah, I read you, man. Yeah, because like you said, it's there's a couple of scenes, but that's it. The rest of it could have been any other forest anywhere.
It could have been anywhere.
Yeah, mixed with the studio stuff as well. It didn't really. Maybe the budget could have been better spent.
I will say this, actually, the studio scenes, I have to say, I think the sets are really good in this. The sets and costumes are excellent. Yes. They really are top notch. You know, because sometimes Doctor Who gets it, you know, I guess it's a budget thing. Sometimes Doctor Who has great costumes and sets. Sometimes it seems to be the absolute opposite. This is one where I think they really did a great job with the production. You know, it looks really good. Even the studio scenes, I think, are really nicely lit, and sets look good and stuff. So I will say that. Yeah, no, they're really good. And there's a couple of scenes where you wouldn't expect them to be on a big set because there's only a couple of people. So when Giuliano and Marco are having a small conversation, you know, I think it's the it's not the throne room, but it's like the main room, the ball room. Or whatever. The ball. Yeah.
And there's a scene where there's a few conversations with only 2 or 3 people, but they're in this huge set, you know, and this big enclosure and so on. It doesn't need to be, you know, but it would have cost more to sort of, you know, have that set up and running and lit and everything. But yeah, so I agree, mate. The sets do look pretty good because sometimes they're just I know it's cheaply made anyway on the whole Classic Who, but sometimes you can really see that it's cheaply made and that, you know, the set finishes and then it's just blackness.
Yeah.
You know, we have that quite a lot. I mean, I'm thinking a bit further on in series 14, The Deadly Assassin. There's a few sets there where it just looks incredibly Blue Peter.
Right.
And then you've got so in A Deadly Assassin, there's like a scene where there's like a something going on, a show or something. There's like a sort of, it looks like a model's walkway, a runway. It's got like a big diamond shape at the end, but that's where the set finishes. And then
I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's just, that's the edge of the set and it stops. You know, there's no more money to build the rest of it. So it's just blackness and it looks a bit like a stage theatre rather than a TV studio.
Yeah, well, if you think about what's that one, the Sunmakers as well. You think of some of the sets in that, it's just black drapes, isn't it? There's a lot of Whereas this, they're really nicely lit as well. You know, like in episode 4 when the Fourth Doctor and Sarah are trying to work out the equation, and he's looking through his little telescope, and he puts on the big lion head. That, you know, it's all really nice. It looks nice on screen.
You know? It does.
Yeah.
Before we get on to characters, just quickly, what did you think to the backdrop in terms of the story then? So this Helix Man-Dragg-Ara thing has popped the TARDIS and have done it, has chosen this specific time period because it's what does the Doctor say? It's in between like the Dark Ages and the Renaissance. So in between that time, it's when the human race is starting to get into science and astrology and, you know, they know that, you know, because there's a couple of times where Giuliano is saying, you know, I'm really into science and I've invited all of these top scientists here and, you know, we've got this theory that the Earth's not flat, it's actually a sphere. And so we're coming out of this kind of witchcraft and black magic, superstitious kind of thing into more of a scientific thing. And we've got the Brethren, you know, who are worshipping this supposed Roman god Demnos. But it's actually a cover for the, you know, Man-Dragg-Ara thing. And so what do you reckon to the backdrop? Because at first I thought, when I first watched this story, you know, a while ago now, initially I thought, oh no, please let it not be one of these magic stories. Do you know what I mean? Where it's, there's a wizard and it's, you know, it moves away from science and it's more, you know, magic. But it turns out to be just a cover for the Man-Dragg-Ara.
Man-Dragg-Ara. Man-Dragg-Ara.
So what do you reckon to the backdrop for the story in terms of, you know, mixing it in with that stuff?
Yeah, I quite like it because it does. I do quite like that. I know what you mean. It could have easily gone down the whole magic circle type thing, but
the battlefield type of vibe.
Yes, it doesn't quite go that far. Yeah. No, I quite like it. I think they could have made it more creepy. That's the thing. You know, watching this again last night, I kept thinking, coming back to that sort of threat element, they could have made it much more gothic and creepy, and I think that would have helped the story a bit because maybe that's why it's a bit drab. Is that you're sort of, you know, there's stuff going on, but there's no sort of urgency, or you're not on your edge of your seat thinking, even the bit when Sarah's hypnotized to kill the Doctor with the poison, she's got to scratch him or whatever, and even that, it doesn't feel, there's no sort of, as I said, you're not sort of sat on your edge of your seat thinking, she's got a needle, she's going to get him any minute. It takes half the episode actually, doesn't it, for her to actually lash out at him, and he just turns around and snaps her out of it, and it's over. So things like that, I think they definitely could have improved on. I don't know that this writer Lewis Marks, the name rings a bell. What's he done?
So
because I always thought it was a made-up name. When someone writes under a pseudonym, I always get that wrong because he is a real person. I always think it's one of those pseudonym names, but it's not, is it? So
he's written a couple of things. He Planet of the Giants.
Oh, Planet of the Giants. Okay, so again, an old story. Day of the Daleks.
Day of the and
Planet of Evil. Okay, so he's done a few Doctor Who's then.
His script was actually pretty good, I thought.
I mean, as I said, there's the actual sort of storyline itself and the sort of core elements of the story, I think, are really good.
Writing wise, it's I didn't have a problem with that at all.
No,
it was I thought the period actors played their parts really well. So the current Duke and Marco, the Count and Hieronymus, I thought those four really played that 15th century proper old shouty English.
Yes.
As they tend to do in classic Who for these sort of early period sort of historicals. I thought they played those like spot on, really. Because sometimes the actors aren't quite giving it their all.
No.
And sometimes they're going too far. But I thought, no, they did it pretty well in this.
I was going to say, I think the cast actually are superb in this. They really are taking it 100% seriously. Like you said, it's quite easy sometimes to sort of go over the top when you're playing these sort of parts. Even Hieronymus with his massive beard, rivaling mine and yours, actually. Even he's, again, you can sort. He doesn't go down the whole rubbing his hands together. I'm an evil. His performance is great in it. I have to say one of the real plus points of this is the entire cast. There's nobody in this. There's normally one, isn't there? There's normally one.
Normally.
Let's a bit pantomime. He didn't quite get the memo.
David Collins.
Yeah. There's normally one that just has to let the side down. I must admit, I can't think of anyone in this. I don't know about you. There's nobody that sort of jumped out of me as being a bit, he's not very good. Or they all seem to be sort of playing their part well.
There was only one scene, just one scene that I thought was maybe going a little bit over the top, and it's where Hieronymus is talking to the high priest. And he's saying that, he'll rule the world.
Okay.
So that was the only one scene that I thought, here we go. Is he going to proper go for it? But he was right on the line, I thought. I thought if he'd have pushed it any more, he would have gone over and it would have been a bit theatery camp. But no, I agree. I think overall they especially John Larrimore, who played Count Federico, he properly went for it.
Yeah.
In pretty much every scene he was in, he had this sort of intense, no nonsense, really kind of shouty, really went for it. And that can really, sometimes it can grate after a little while when you have one character that's always shouting or always, but no, he was cool. We'll come on to him in a minute, but I think the period story and that sort of stuff, I think works great with this, sort of energy source, this Man-Dragg-Ara helix source, sort of when you mix those two together, it's really cool. But it all sort of roads back comes down to the pacing, unfortunately, which I think had a great script. So Lewis Marks did a fantastic script. Just wish that Rodney Bennett had have pushed a couple more. It would have made the climax more and made the locations a bit more, epic. Which I get. You can't do it all, but
because when the Doctor reveals this at the end, I don't know about you, mate, but I didn't exactly gasp. I wasn't like, it was the Doctor all the time. I was of course it was. Things like that. I think, I don't know, it just doesn't have the impact that it should. I mean, it's probably there in the script, but it didn't quite translate onto screen, I think, at times. This, because like you said, the ending does feel really, really flat. You know, like they just get in the TARDIS and off they go, and the Doctor's got his salami. It is kind of a bit like, because you have, bearing in mind you've just sat through 2 hours or whatever, hour and a half of story to get to that conclusion. It is a little limp. Yeah.
It feels like they had a really good sort of finale to the story, but then as closer to production got on, they're like, do you know what, we're not going to be able to afford to do this, so can you come up with something that's a bit simpler? And then they just put this bit at the end that's wraps up the story, but it doesn't really feel like a satisfying conclusion.
No, it doesn't. You don't sort of, when you switch it off, you kind of, it is very much a case of all right then,
right, Hand of Fear then, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, great, straight into Hand of Fear. I mean, I suppose this is a good thing. Hand of Fear's got such a different feel to this. This does feel very different. Yeah. And for that, I kind of like it, but yeah.
Characters then. So the supporting cast, we've mentioned, I mean, there are a couple of others like the soldier. I think his name was Rossini. Was it Rossini? Like the head soldier. He was fairly good. He was like the Count's sort of right-hand man, because the army and the soldiers should have allegiance to Giuliano, the Duke. But the Count's leading this like, what's the word? Sort of mutiny, if you like. Like
a revolt sort of thing,
A revolt, the scheme to sort of, get rid of him and then he can rule sort of thing. So the soldiers, they're sort of split. I mean, they dump their allegiance pretty quickly towards the end.
Yeah, they do.
But I thought that Rossini character was pretty good. He played like the hard sort of soldier, loyal to the Count fairly well. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, I agree with you. I think, again, with a part like that, he could quite easily have gone over the top. But it's a good leveled performance. I don't know if it's maybe sometimes when you get a cast together like that, they kind of, one person or whatever will set the tone and they all stay at that. Because, there's nobody in this that seems to be trying to do their own thing or, really sort of wanting to stand out from the crowd and make a name for himself as an actor. There's nobody, it does seem like they're all gelling as a cast. So I think that's, that does come across. They all seem to be on this level of just pitching it right. He was good, like you said, even when he's going off on one.
No, he's pretty good. The High Priest, he's like the old grey-haired brethren character. He was I'd like to have seen a bit more of him, actually.
I was going to say, he's not in it that much, is he?
No.
In fact, if I hadn't have rewatched this last night, I probably wouldn't know who you're talking about, because we could have seen a bit more of him.
Yeah, because at first you think he's the top dude.
Yeah.
You think he's like the leader.
You think there's more to his character, definitely. Yeah.
Because he must have been of some importance to be, the high priest of it all. But we don't really get to see much of it.
And again, when it's getting a bit drab in like parts 2 and 3, you could have interacted a bit more with characters like that, couldn't you? But yeah.
But I'd like to have seen a bit more of him. And then we've got Marco, Giuliano's friend.
And I was going to say, let's be fair, with the big hair and the tights and stuff, it would be easy to just laugh him off screen. But again, because of his performance, I think he's quite a good character, actually. Like the bit where the bit where he gets injured later on and the doctor's like, it's something about, are you scared? And he's like, no, I'm not. He goes, oh, really? I would be. And, little scenes like that and stuff. He's quite a nice character, actually.
Yeah.
Marco.
And he does go through the middle a little bit. He gets captured and tortured.
He does,
but he doesn't give up.
No.
He just comes back and, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's all right, yeah.
What about Giuliano then, the current Duke, the nephew?
Yeah, Gareth Armstrong. A
little bit weak, I thought.
I was going to say, I was just thinking the same, because actually I was saying earlier, no one's bad in this. He's not bad.
He's not bad, is he?
He's not bad, is he? No, but I suppose if you're going to pick one person out that maybe isn't quite on par, I mean, nothing wrong with his performance, but I suppose, if you're going to pick one, he's not as good as the rest.
I would say so. Yeah. He's not too bad, is he? He's just
he's
a little
all right.
bit on the quiet-y. He
doesn't get much, does he?
Yeah. I mean, his character's meant to be fairly young and inexperienced. Because his father, was it his father? Yeah, his father was murdered. Because the Hieronymus and the Count sort of conspired to kill his father. I think, was it his father or his grandfather, whoever was the ruler, the Duke at the time. So he's sort of been thrust into it quite young. So I think his character's meant to be quite young and not naive, but inexperienced in what's required. But I just felt like the actor should have been a little bit stronger. Although I do think it's a nice contrast between him and the Count.
Yeah, I was going to say. Because I do like the Count, so I didn't want to jump ahead. I was going to say I do think the Count's a good character, and I wish we'd seen more of him with the Doctor.
Yes,
there was definitely potential there for those two to spar off each other more. I think because there's a good scene, isn't there, where the Doctor's trying to warn him about the fact he's going to die, and he's like, "Well, can't you see my future?" He's like, no, because you haven't got one at the minute. There's a good camaraderie between those two, which I think could have been played up to a bit more, actually.
Yeah, those scenes are cool where Tom's really giving it, he's very confident, as always. He's very confident and he's, almost having a bit of a joke with him. He's not taking his threat seriously. But the Count, you can almost sense that he's intrigued by the Doctor. There's something about him.
He thinks he's a sorcerer, but there's more to him. Yeah.
And that's cool. So, you're right. They should have had a bit more of interaction between those two because in a way it does feel... let's talk about the Count then, because it does feel like, for me, his character was a bit one-sided in a way because the only thing we ever saw of him was his just sort of thirst to sort of kill his nephew and get the throne, if you like. Not the throne, but get to rule the province. We never saw any, every single conversation when he's on screen is about him talking with Hieronymus to kill his nephew, or him talking with his soldiers to kill his nephew, or him talking with his soldiers to kill the brethren.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Doctor,
a little bit one-sided.
So although he's don't get me wrong, he's great in it. I thought his performance was really good. It was firm and shouty, and he really took the script and sort of owned it, which is great. But I just felt like we never saw any other side to him, which maybe we don't need to. Maybe it's a case of you don't need to look that far into it. We're at this little nugget of time in what's going on, so that's all you need to know. But don't get me wrong, his performance was great. Did you think he was cool then, John?
Yeah, no, I liked him. I was going to say the two that really stood out for me would be John Lorrimore as the Count, and also Norman Jones as Hieronymus. They're the two. Yeah, as I say, it's a strong cast. I think they're all good, but those two in particular, I think are the two strongest, and the two that when they're on screen, I found myself getting back into the story. As I said, I did zone out quite a bit watching this, but when they're back on screen, especially Hieronymus, actually, not just because of his performance, but his look and everything is so good. This crazy beard, which he does pull off. It's not easy to pull off a big beard like that. It does suit him and make him look a bit more creepy, and you're not sure about his character at the start. So those two, I think, were particularly good in this.
They were awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Sarah Jane,
lovely performance from Liz Sladen in this. She is so relaxed around Tom.
She is, isn't she?
Yeah, she is so... when she's delivering lines, they're just delivered with so much ease. It's so natural, the way she talks around the Doctor. What I mean by that, because it doesn't feel like she's reading lines off a page. It feels like her and Tom are actually in a very natural conversation. She's really lovely in this. It's sad to think that one more story and Sarah Jane will be gone. Until she comes back in School Reunion. But she's just such a natural, relaxed performance from Elizabeth.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Her and Tom are so natural together by this point.
You can't fault her. The way that she puts herself into the role with Tom.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Like you said, they just fit so well together, and when they're on screen, it doesn't feel like anything's forced. It doesn't feel like they're having to work hard. to get their on-screen sort of relationship happening. It's just there, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And I completely agree. And what about Tom then? Because it's an interesting story for him, because he's in it an awful lot.
Yeah.
You know, because there are some stories where, you know, then the Doctor's not in it quite as much, you know. But for this one, he's in it an awful lot. I mean, there's a lot of running away, there's a lot of plans to be made, a lot of conversations, a lot of explanation. He's often, you know, educating the other cast members, or the other characters, should I say, about what's happening, you know, and they never can quite figure out if he's a sorcerer, if he's legit and whatever. So he's in it an awful lot, and he's got a lot of lines to go through. But usual Tom.
Well, I was going to say, I love Tom in this, but in a different way from I love Tom in, say, City of Death.
Right.
You know, Tom does change as the Doctor in all stories, really. But I like him in this because he's almost like a toned down, very serious, quite an action Doctor as well, isn't he? At the start, we've got him fighting, we've got him doing karate. He's almost a bit Third Doctor. We've got him riding a horse. You know, he's quite the action Doctor in the start of this, and then at the end, it's, you know, comes back to the sort of almost slightly comedic Fourth Doctor when he comes out with a salami sandwich line at the end. And so, but I love Tom's performance in this. He seems more serious than some stories. You know, as I said, if you sort of compare it to the Fourth Doctor in City of Death, which is very comedic, and I love him in City of Death, this one he seems to be more serious and toned down, and I really like it. I love his performance in this, but especially him and Sarah Jane. I know they're always good together, but it's just the relaxedness between the two of them in this story I particularly liked, you know, from doing the sort of comedy at the start where he's telling her to count the alphabet backwards, you know, to the more serious in the episode 4 where Sarah Jane saying, well, could it be through the religion? And he's like, yes, it could. And, you know, that just as I said, the natural interaction between the two is just brilliant by this point. Yeah, they're so good together in this. Yeah, they really bring the story up for me. You know, from the beginning right to the end. You know, the two of them really bring the story up.
Yes,
I think. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you said most of that, because that's pretty much what I had written down.
Oh, is it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Tom's great, but in a slightly different way. Because as you said, he does change slightly. Like his approach to the character does change. And in this one, and as I said, he's got loads to do in this, as well as all of the conversations and script stuff. He's in it action-wise. And so, yeah, but I think he's very, very good, just in a slightly more intense
slightly toned down performance, isn't it? Yeah.
Not so much sort of quick one-liners and comedy moments, but more sort of, you know, to the point and quite serious. Which is not a bad thing, but...
I was going to say, whereas we don't get as many sort of one-liners, we get nice little moments, don't we? So like when he pops the orange on the end of the sword, you know, just diffuses the situation, you know, that way, and stuff like that. It's really nice stuff to watch, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to mention before our scores?
No, only that I like Dudley Simpson's score in it. It really suits the story. I mean, I always like Dudley's music.
Yeah.
I nearly always like it. I think there is one story, actually, I said it was a bit off, but I can't remember what it is. But genuinely, I just love Dudley Simpson's music, and it really suits this sort of, you know, when this was set, and the flutes and the little, it's got this shaky, what do you call that instrument? Keeps
shaker.
Doing this,
a
shaker. It's so simple, and I love it. I'm sure that's in Blake 7 as well. I kept thinking, I'm sure he's reused that. So yeah, I really like the music. It helps set the tone when sometimes, as I said, it drags and there's not much going on. His music helps to make the story flow along quite nicely, I think.
Agreed. He did have a great talent for matching his scores to the story. You can tell
it's a nice.
You can tell he actually read the script.
Yes.
and wrote music for that story. It's very good. Yeah.
I do. I love his music. Yeah.
Okay. Wait. You can go first, mate. You haven't been here for a while.
Okay.
After you.
All right. I do think it's a decent watch. A very nice production. I'm going to give it a 7 because I think it's solid. It's never going to be one of my favourites, but I don't think it deserves lower than that. I mean, I'll see what you give it, but although it's not my favourite and it does plod along, I do think it's a lovely production. So 7.
You've read my mind, mate. It's a 7 from me.
It's a 7. Okay, cool.
Yeah, for that very reason. I think it's produced very nicely. It's I think the characters are on point for the most part. Great performances. And Tom brings something slightly different to his character as he's progressing his approach to it. So, and like you said, it's a solid story. You can't really fault it too much.
It's one you have to be in the mood for, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not one that I'm going to gravitate towards. That, you know, a bit like you with Remembrance. You know, just where it's not a story that I'd never get bored of watching. I have to be in the mood for it. But when I am in the mood for it, it's decent.
Yes. And what did our lovely listeners think? I did a Twitter poll, I think, ages ago, but I can't remember. I couldn't find it anyway. But we did have a tweet come in from TARDIS Files HQ that said a bit of a Marmite story. When I first watched it, I found the plot dull and a bit boring. But after a second watch, I was pleasantly surprised. It still was a little bit dull in my opinion, but overall, it was a good rewatch. And the effects are so bad, they're good. 7 out of 10.
There's not that many effects in it, really, apart from the helix energy, isn't it? Because I was thinking there's not that many effects in it.
No. Before I go over to Facebook, we did have an audio clip in.
Cool.
This is from George Buddy.
Hello, Gary and Adam. Hope you guys are well. So, the Mask of Man-Dragg-Ara. I actually really enjoyed this story. I love the setting of 15th century Italy in San Martino. The cult of Demos are an interesting threat, but the Man-Dragg-Ara helix concept confused me slightly. Tom Baker is brilliant as ever as the Doctor, as is Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane. Such a great companion partnership. Gareth Armstrong is a good supporting character as well in Giuliano. I give the Mask of Man-Dragg-Ara a 7 out of 10. See you guys next week.
Very cool.
Cheers, George.
And he spelt it. Sorry, he pronounced it correctly, which we didn't do.
I know. I knew I'd get it wrong. I always do.
Over on Facebook, Nick Gill says, it's a beautifully constructed Tom story. Sets the historical backup story well and delivers a satisfying finale. Maybe slower paced than normal, but I think that's half of the charm as the story builds to a climax very quickly towards the end. Luke East says, was the first Target novel I can remember reading from cover to cover. Tom and Liz are on top form. I particularly enjoy the bit about the TARDIS boot cupboard. A good historical story. Hoping to see more historicals from Chibnall.
I think we might actually. Got a feeling,
Joseph Howarth says, was a great pseudo-historical story, had a right amount of gothic and dark atmosphere, and the scenery and the costumes and the supporting cast really did bring the story to life. And give you an impression of the 15th century Italy. The villain stands out in a good way and is very memorable throughout. Bit of a talky one, but it really does pay off in terms of building up to the climax. 8 out of 10. Martin Arnold, I really love this episode. A spooky mix of occult astrology and sci-fi, topped off with a wonderful villain who really stands out. I get the sense the episode isn't regarded as a classic, but I could be wrong. Clear Nostradamus influence here on the story, and the creepy cult guys eventually get taken over for a great climax. If you'll excuse me, I'll consult the heavens for a score of 8 star signs out of 10. And lastly, Charlie Turner says, not a standout favourite for me in Tom's era, but it's produced well and I give it much credit. The story itself is pretty good for the most part, but it's all right at best. 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, okay. Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't have anything on the Geek's Handbag because you ain't been here.
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
I sneaked a little post out last night.
Holy moly, go for it.
Oh, yeah. So, so Jacob the Burt Whistle says he wouldn't even say no to a salami sandwich, which of course is a quote. That is so bizarre, that ending. That's what the Fourth Doctor says at the end. It's bizarre. Hendrix Chaplin says, considering Tom Baker is my favourite Doctor, he really struggles with this one and thinks it's easily forgettable. Yeah, I know. I kind of know where you're coming from, Hendrix. Alex Kafajoglu, who I met on Saturday, by the way. Hello, Alex. Says he loves the opening scenes where the Helix attacks the TARDIS and they end up in the weird void. In general, I enjoyed the story, he says. You can count on one hand the number of times Tom had a story in Earth's past, so it makes a nice change, which is a very good point. Actually, it does make a nice change. Alex gives it 7.5 out of 10, so slightly above us. Bradley Willard, a very underrated story and a really good season. Our two leads are in the form of Tom Baker and Liz Sladen, continue to produce absolute magic on screen, he says, and have fantastic chemistry together, whilst the supporting cast are effectively likeable and memorable. to help the 4 parts travel at a consistently well-timed pace. Okay. Although the scientific elements surrounding the Man-Dragg-Ara helix may be a tad complicated for the average viewer to understand, there's still a lot to enjoy with the setting, the communication between the characters, and some very impressive visual effects for the time. And Bradley gives it an 8 out of 10, so quite a big fan. Cool. And finally, Jason Howe says it's one of the best. Ooh. Right, Jace loves it. Introduced the beautiful secondary console room, or is it the original? He says, yeah, it's lovely that console room. I agree with you. So pretty positive, but so. one there that says it's a bit forgettable. I kind of know what he means, although I like it and think it's decent. It is one that gets lost. It doesn't reach those heights of classic, does it? I don't know why. Quite. It just doesn't quite. It's like it's climbing the wall. It's nearly there, but it doesn't make it.
Yeah, I read you. Yeah. Thank you all so much for sending in your reviews and thoughts there. Next week we're back to Torchwood. So what are we doing?
Buddy? Yeah, next week. So Ghost Machine is the next episode. Torchwood. So get that watched. I'm looking forward to it. I feel like I'm going to go back and watch day 1, which you reviewed. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have a bit of a Torchwood catch up next week, and then on to Ghost Machine. So send in your reviews to that one. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome sauce.
Yes.
I think we'll do there for 190.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking with us for episode 190. It's been really cool to have some news and merch to talk about.
Yeah, it has.
It has been a bit dry of late. I had a couple of bits last week which we were surprised about, but before then it's been a barren, desolate. As Phil said last week, Chibnall's obviously running a very tight ship.
Yes.
There's hardly anything coming out of the camp.
I'm kind of liking that, though. I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Thank you so much for all of you sending in your thoughts and reviews for the Mask of Man-Dragg-Ara. Next week it's Torchwood. Get that watched, because we'll be asking for your reviews as per usual. In the meantime, head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous episodes there. And you can link off to all of the social stuff. We have a good old chat about who during the week between episodes. So link off to Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff. Give us a like and a follow. Also find us on all of the podcast networks, notably iTunes. Just do a search for Big Blue Box Podcast. You can find us on there. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could give us a rating and a review, that would be amazing, because it really helps us. Or otherwise, you can find us on everything else. Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, all of that stuff, you'll be able to find us on there. Also, check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag. Go and have a look.
Adam runs his own thing over on YouTube. Loads of really, really cool videos, content over there. Go over, just search for The Geek's Handbag, give him a subscribe, and like all of his vids. They're all very, very cool. And he's also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's on all the stuffs.
I'm on it.
He's on it.
But I'm not on, what's it called? Stitch. I need to get on Stitcher. No, what's it called?
Sorry, yeah.
Twitch. Is it?
Stitch, yeah, Twitch. Yeah.
See, I'm not with it.
So check out loads of Classic Who. Most nights over on Twitch. You can't go wrong. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week, episode 191. In the meantime, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, hey.